Charlotte Isby is back, and we have more business to talk to about the coming generation that is supposed to stand up and lead. I don't know how you can lead from behind, because each generation seems to be falling further and further behind. It's rather frightening to me to watch the degradation of is supposed to be an intelligent species. Now, you've been watching this and studying it, and because of you, we know this was an intentional plan that was put together over the better part of a century. But my God, the results are just horrifying. So you've got something you want to read tonight, which is I'm looking forward to hearing. Now, I previewed it, and we've got some other things to cover as well. Yep. So go to it.
I will, Jeff, and I don't usually read like this, but it's terribly important, and I don't want to let anything leave anything out. We're looking at the bill before Congress. It could be voted on any time right now.
Right.
You know, no way, you say, that's your expression. No way, ESEA. And
can't have it. Cannot have it.
No, we cannot have this. I don't think that I'm overstating the case when I feel if this bill passes, it could be, I believe it will be the end of America as we've known it. And people are worried about the Constitutional Convention and a lot of other things, and I am too.
Yeah.
As I said before, I believe, you know, if you educate students to believe in all the things that none of us believe in, and the global agenda and euthanasia and everything else in the schools, these very students are going to go out and vote against everything we believe in. So how can we expect them to vote in favor of the Constitution and, you know, against abortion and all these things? So education is key. We've said that before. This is the number one issue.
Well, if we don't have education, we've got imbecility. That's all. We don't have anything.
Yes, we do. You know, so this evening I am going to plead with the American people. I want them to go to my blog where they can check up on everything that I'm talking about. It's the ABCS of dumbdown.blogspot.com, or else they can find all the research in my book, Deliberate Dumbing Down. And anyway, I'm going to get going so that we don't lose any time here. And I apologize to your listeners for reading to them.
No, this is important.
This is very important. It's sort of like a last stand, okay? For the whole world, not just us, okay?
Oh, as we go, so goes the rest of the planet. Believe it. You're watching the takedown of the king.
Absolutely, and that's so sad. And I do believe that if the average individual on this planet was asked their views on what is happening, if they knew, they would agree entirely with what I'm going to say tonight. So here we go with No Way ESEA, which is your expression, and that really means No Way, No Child Left Behind legislation. This is reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which is the old No Child Left Behind. The final Senate House vote is coming up this week or next. Lamar Alexander is the senator leading it in the Senate, Republican side, and Patty Murray, senator, on the Democratic side. This is actually what we call it's limited learning for lifelong labor. Very good expression that was created by the editor of my book, Cynthia Weatherly. I love it. 4 L's, easy to remember. No Way Pizza. Now, No Way Pizza. I'm not saying No Way Pizza. I'm saying that is the OECD, that's the Office of Economic Cooperation and Development's program for international student assessment. Now, the OECD is in Paris, France, and it is working on this training for your children for many, many years. When I was in the Department of Education, I ran across all of their papers for workforce training for all children on this planet. No Way Finish Education, which is supported by leftist professor Tony Wagner at Harvard and many, many others. No Way Soviet Workforce Training. That was given to us basically through the Reagan, President Reagan, Gorbachev, and Carnegie Soviet Academy of Science agreements in 1985. Those agreements that Carnegie signed were related to Marxist critical thinking for early elementary school children in 1985. The critical thinking, the Marxist critical thinking programs are being pushed by Robert Marzano and his Reinventing School Coalition, which you can Google. You can Google that. No Way Carnegie 1934 Plan, which is a little book, Conclusions and Recommendations for the Social Studies, that I have, and I've talked about this before in the show, which called for using the schools to change the United States capitalist system to a planned economy, and in some cases to take our land. No Way, the National Alliance of Business, kindergarten through age 80, workforce training. I have their letterhead that says that on it. Now, this is very interesting. When visiting in London in 2012, two cab drivers, a Pakistani and a Kenyan, discussed with me the present deliberate dumbing down of education in England. They, in separate conversations with me, said they came to England about 30 years ago so their children could get a good education, which their children did get. But now they see that their grandchildren, now, how many years later, are getting a non-academic, total quality management, no competition at all, education, part of the international Skinnerian.
Excuse me, can we even call it an education?
No.
It's action,
training.
Reaction, it's stimulus training.
Yep, that's right. And that is, I don't even like, whenever I use the word academic, I just say, Charlotte, you shouldn't be using it. But anyway, that is part of, this non-academic, it's like total quality management. People know consensus on everything, right? Part of the International Skinnerian Outcomes-Based Training Restructuring System. That's what they're getting, and that's what our children are getting, too, and that's what No Child Left Behind is, the reauthorization. This is the Finnish system supported by Harvard's Professor Tony Wagner, PISA, UNESCO, the corporations, etc. Their grandchildren can't multiply, divide, know no history. Their behavior is totally out of hand, etc. Everything we are looking at here in the United States. So these two cab drivers, who didn't know one another, are going back to Pakistan and Kenya, where they said their education systems are still academic. And really, the British did have an awfully good academic system at one time. That won't last for long. With UNESCO, Office of Economic Cooperation Development, PISA assessment, etc., in charge. Same thing here. Now, we're calling on American voters. No Way ESEA. Kill the reauthorization bills that call for restructuring of America's academic education system from inputs, what the student learns and knows in his head, to outputs, how the student can perform to spin off profits for the global elite. The academics to workforce training with lifelong services run by unelected councils. Now, we've got some quotes here that I want to read that are really, I think I've been collecting quotes, as you know, for many years. These are probably the best. It's going to give people an idea of what's been in the pipeline for a long time. This is an article, actually I wrote this and I included this in an article that I'd written that is that ABCs have dumbed down. And it was entitled Erasing Individualism and Competition. Professor James Block, a leader in Skinnerian Mastery Learning Circles, what later was called Outcome-Based Education, OBE, and what is now called Common Core, published an article in Educational Leadership in November 1979 entitled Mastery Learning, the Current State of the Craft. Well, you know, they changed the title of Mastery Learning when half the inner city kids went down the tubes in Chicago. they had to change it to outcomes-based ed so people wouldn't know what it was. This is what he said. One of the striking personal features of mastery learning, for example, is the degree to which it encourages cooperative individualism in student learning as opposed to selfish competition. Just how much room is there left in the world for individualists who are more concerned with their own performance than the performance of others? One of the striking societal features of mastery learning, OBE, is the degree to which it presses for a society based on the excellence of all participants rather than one based on the excellence of a few. You better figure out what the definition of excellence is there. Can any society afford universal education excellence, or must all societies make most people incompetent so that a few can be competent? That's exactly what your children are up against in the schools. Yeah. Now, the next one was in the Washington Post, 1977, and actually it discusses the changing of your values being more important than learning how to read. In a Washington Post article dated August 1st, 1977, entitled Competency Tests Set in 26 Schools, Thomas Dicht, very close to William Spady, really the father of OBE after Bloom and Skinner, Thomas Dicht, who was later named to U.S. Secretary of Labor Elizabeth Dole's Secretary's Commission on Achieving Necessary Skills, SCANS, that was under George Bush Sr., was also mentioned as an associate director at the National Institute of Education. At the time, mastery learning, which we just discussed a few seconds ago, OBE, now called Common Core, was implemented in the D.C. schools. The Post article quoted Dicht extensively, verifying that he and Spady were both deeply involved. Hold on. Turn a page here. In the implementation of the new mastery learning OBE curriculum. Later, in 1987, the Washington Post again paraphrased Dick as follows. Many companies have moved operations to places with cheap, relatively poorly educated labor. What may be crucial, they say, think about this. This was NAFTA that the Heritage Foundation gave us, right? The so-called Conservative Heritage Foundation gave us NAFTA, okay? What may be crucial, they say, the companies, is the dependability of a labor force and how well it can be managed and trained, not its general educational level. Although a small cadre of highly educated, creative people is essential to innovation and growth. Now get this. Think about this. And they're always talking about wanting to help the poor, like No Child Left Behind and all that stuff.
Sure.
Listen, ending discrimination and changing values are probably more important than reading in moving low-income families into the middle class. Here we go. Another one. Training children like training Skinner's pigeons. Okay, the quote is here. This is out of the Washington Post, too. Competency tests set in 26 schools. New curriculum. This is the one your kids are getting, folks out there. Absolutely, this is it. The new curriculum shifts teaching methods in the district was the title of an article which appeared in the Washington Post on August 1st, 1977, and it stated, quote, the materials will be standardized, the lessons will be standardized, Guinness said. He's the associate commissioner. We're taking the play out. We're taking the guesswork out. We're putting in a precise, predicted treatment that leads to a predicted response. Guinness said that the new curriculum is based on the work in behavioral psychology of Harvard University's B.F. Skinner, who developed teaching machines. That's the computer, right? This is Box, which is going in all over, taking all the books out and all.